Hi, chat! Good morning! Good morning, everybody! Good morning! Good morning, Nuka! Good morning, all of our lovely lurkers! Good morning, everybody over on X! Good morning, everybody over on YouTube! Good morning, Frosted! Hello, everybody! I'm Kenneth Fablespell, your Dragonic hero! Here to save the day! Windsor! Good morning! Thank you for the daily coin tribute. I will be keeping that for my Dragon Horde. You will not be getting it back. 170 stream streak, Nuka. It's crazy. Been streaking 170 times? You've got a problem. You've got a problem. Morning, Faye. Good morning. Good morning. Morning, Astrid. My God, wow, she's gonna save the day. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm pretty cool like that. Flexes my muscle. my Chad, I don't have muscles. I'm gonna be so for real with you guys. And I know you're all gonna say we know, Fable. I don't have much upper body strength. I don't work out my upper body. Now my lower body though, I skip arm day, but I don't skip leg day. Oh, chat. So couple things to go over. First and foremost, Rainbow Rap Parade is over $2,600 raised. And we're on day 3, which is pretty freaking cool, chat. That's pretty sick. That's pretty awesome. We've raised so much money so far for Trans Lifeline. That's pretty sick. Secondly, if you guys don't know, we are streaming with the Rainbow Rap Parade this week. It is a big little charity event. We're raising money for Trans Lifeline. You can, scan the QR code up there. Right there. You see it? Right there. That one. That code. That code. That one. That one. Or you can use exclamation point charity in the chat. You can use exclamation point charity. It'll give you a link to everything. Yeah, I mean, it's whatever you like. It's whatever you prefer. Prefer to use. But that's the goal today, chat, is to help raise money. It is to help raise money for Trans Lifeline. Chat, today, we're talking Pride in DC Comics, okay? We're going to be talking Pride in DC Comics, and, I have to get my PlayStation turned on, because I decided that we'd do it while playing Lego Batman. I figured that we could just go play some little silly little Lego Batman, and we could do that. Other fun news, chat. We hit 400 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you to everybody over on YouTube that watches the live streams there, that watches the videos, that watches the YouTube shorts. Thank you to everybody. 400 subs is great. Guys, we have been moving. It was like less than a month ago that we hit 300, okay? And I've only just started using the YouTube channel for more than just stream VOD archiving. I've only just started using the YouTube channel for more than like streaming over there since like February, okay? Because February is when we started doing daily YouTube shorts. February is when we started doing daily YouTube shorts, and now we have, like, videos coming out. Speaking of which, chat, we have another Suit Lore video this week. If you guys are curious about it, I'll tell you, I'll give you 2 little hints, and you guys will probably figure it out. We'll probably figure it out based on that, based on the hints. First of all, it is a current ongoing run. And Bruce is built like a brick fucking house in this series. So, there you go. I just simply can't tell. I'll be honest with you. I need another Arkham game, chat. I love doing these suit lore videos. I need another Arkham game, or I need them to add more suits to Lego Batman. I need another Arkham game, or I need them to add more suits to Lego Batman. Because there's a lot of, like, just, like short runs that have suits. Like, Lego Batman has a lot of the movie suits, but it's not a lot of comic suits. And I would like to see some more comic suits. I really would like to see some more comic suits from Lego Batman. Could see if any modded suits exist for City or Night. The thing is, right? Okay, actually, by the way, guys, I might... Okay, this is gonna be a sidetrack. Let me get on my point. The big thing for me is that, like, I don't know how interested people are in suit lore videos for 10-plus-year-old games. I don't know how much people are interested in 10-plus-year-old games. I just don't, unfortunately. But I could see. Arkham Knight has a large variety. Chat, do you guys remember how I said that we're not going to play another Arkham game until December-ish? You guys remember that? Do you guys remember that? You guys remember when I said that no more... That... Well, I kind of lied. I kind of lied a bit, chat. Listen, I've told you before, I do be lying a little bit from time to time. Mostly unintentionally. Mostly unintentionally. So, I kind of forgot that Batman Arkham Origins released in the era of, like, well, we have this big AAA game to release, but we can't put this on 3DS. The 3DS won't run it. So, let's release a game on 3DS with the same name that's a completely different game. And I kind of forgot that they made a Metroidvania Batman Arkham game that's set 3 months after Arkham Origins. So we're gonna be playing Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate at some point soon. The other thing, we're probably going to be playing Batman Arkham City again soon. We're probably going to be playing Arkham City again. And the reason is, there's apparently a mod that allows you to play... There's apparently a mod that allows you to play Arkham City... Arkham City co-op. Hi, can't stay long because work, but hi everyone. Hope everyone has a great Monday. Hi, Hawks. I hope you have fun at work. I've just been yapping while I get my PlayStation going. That's it. Alright, chat. Let's go over here. Let's go over here because we gotta get the Elgato going. Sorry. Elgato did not like that. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Please. 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 Don't be mad at me. Be mad at the Elgato. Actually, be mad at my USB-C. Listen, I gotta get a new USB-C. I keep putting it off. And it's partially because I don't know where to get a good USB-C. I've bought USB-Cs from Amazon before that are just utterly dog water. Alright? They're just utter dog water. They're not good. They're not good. They're not good USB-Cs. And then I just have to go back to old reliable, which isn't really old reliable anymore. It's not really old reliable anymore. Okay. Chat, I've got this. I've got this. Trust, chat. Trust. See, chat, what did I say? I had this. I had this the whole time, and you guys did not have faith in me. Alright? You guys did not have faith in me. You guys... This is gonna be so much less structured, by the way, than the Suit Lore videos. Hi, for anybody that's here watching because of the Suit Lore videos, I'm going to just straight up warn you. This will be... This will be... like... so much less structured than the Suit Lore videos. I have like certain like things I want to start off with, but this is gonna be so much less structured. All right. All right, chat. Also, yes, we will be using Rainbow Batman. We will be using Rainbow Batman. We will be using Rainbow Batman. Because I find it fitting. I find it fitting. So, let's talk Pride in DC Comics, chat. Let's talk Pride in DC Comics. After we get out of here. We'll go out here.
And away we go.
Let's talk Pride in DC Comics. Now, a lot of people think that Pride in DC Comics was a very recent thing. I know a lot of certain types of people like to think that it's all part of some agenda, as if like gay people haven't existed for since the dawn of human beings. But Pride in DC Comics has existed for a lot longer. Pride in DC Comics has existed for a lot longer. Now, admittedly, LGBTQ plus characters in DC, you know, at the start wasn't really a thing, and the unfortunate side of it is, because of like IRL rich people, you can blame kind of blame IRL rich people as well as the comic authority. Hello? I guess we're fighting?
I should keep my discard. Oh, I can't wait to run into more bad guys.
Hold on. I guess we're fighting really fast. I wasn't just planning on free roaming here. Screw it. So the Comic Code Authority, chat. If you don't know what that is, I don't blame you. I do not blame you for not knowing what the Comic Code Authority is. It is a, I'm pretty sure it's like a whole, like, screening process. I don't know too much about the Comic Code Authority myself. It was one of the things I've never really looked into for comics. Hold on, I need to lock in and fight this big guy. Ow. Okay. I need to lock in and fight this big guy. But, yeah, the Comic Code Authority was essentially, like, a screening process for comics. It was meant to sort of, like, regulate the content of comic books. And the unfortunate thing was part of that regulation for a very long time was you weren't allowed to depict gay people in your comics. And the sad reason is that it comes down to, the whole Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson jokes people would make about Dick Grayson being a young boy in the care of a billionaire, right? Like, adopted in the care of a billionaire. It is the unfortunate downside to that aspect of Batman. It is the unfortunate downside to that aspect of Batman. Also, we're using this Robin costume because this is technically Tim Drake from the first Lego Batman game, and there's no Tim Drake costumes for Robin. I can show you right now. The two Tim Drake costumes we have is Lego Batman and Batman Arkham City. That's the two costumes we have. That's Tim Drake. So, it's what you're getting. But yes. So that's what the Comics Code Authority is, chat. The Comics Code Authority is, it is essentially just like a content regulation thing for comics. It was basically just it was kind of like a censor for a very long time for comics. Like, if you wanted to include something they didn't like in comics, you weren't getting it. And unfortunately, that meant that for a very long time, until 1989 to be exact, you weren't allowed to, comics were not allowed to depict homosexuality until 1989. You could not have gay characters at all.
At the Gotham Village. That guy driving way over the speed limit.
Now, after that though, DC really started getting into and creating gay characters. Now, unfortunately, the first openly gay character isn't the greatest bit of representation. DC didn't exactly have the greatest bit of representation with their first openly gay character. The first openly gay character was Gregorio de la Vega, also known as Extrano. He's this Peruvian, sorcerer. He's kind of like a DC's play on Doctor Strange. And he was technically DC's first openly gay superhero, but he was also, every single stereotype of gay men. He wore, a bunch of just, colorful garments. He was super flamboyant. He was the comic relief. Eventually, I think eventually Extrano got a redesign. I think there was a redesign that made him, more of a serious character rather than just being played off as a joke. but he was the very first gay character in DC Comics, and if you don't know Extrano, he was a member of the New Guardians, which the New Guardians were basically a successor. They were basically a successor to the Guardians of the Universe. I wanted to say the Guardians of the Galaxy, but I knew that wasn't correct. They were a successor to the Guardians of the Universe, picked by them to be their successors. Picked by them to be their successors because, you know, I don't exactly remember the storyline. I don't know a lot about older Green Lantern storylines, unfortunately. My wheelhouse for older stories is Batman and Flash. I unfortunately don't know a ton of older Green Lantern stories, and especially don't really know a lot about the New Lanterns. But after Extrano, right, after Extrano in, like, the late 80s, early 90s, like, DC started introducing, like, tons of characters. Tons of characters that are LGBTQ+. And, like, actually, like, discussing, like, issues and hatred that LGBTQ+, like, people face. I believe there was a character that they added to, like, the Wonder Woman comic. They introduced John Constantine, who is an openly bisexual character. Actually, hold on. I need to double check. I'm gonna double check. I believe John Constantine is bisexual, but he might be pan. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was recently set up that, John was pan. He started off as bi, but I believe, in the past couple years, yeah, I think it was 2024, John Constantine came out as pansexual. So, while he was one of the first bisexual characters, he is now a, pansexual character, which I think is a really cool evolution of John Constantine's character. And I also think it fits for his character. Like, with who John Constantine is, I think that fits for his character extremely well. I think that was a really cool change that DC did. But he was one of the characters that, you know, they introduced in, like, the early 90s. They introduced their first trans character. Her name is Coagula. But yeah, her name is Coagula. She is, if I remember right, a member of the Doom Patrol. Yeah, she was a member of the Doom Patrol. She, you know, like, it's very open how she went through, like, you know, Jesus Christ, I'm blanking on the term. HRT. How did I forget HRT? I don't know. I don't know how I forgot HRT. But yeah, like, it's very open about how she's, like, you know, she's a trans woman. She you know, is on HRT. How she was, like, bullied growing up and, like, was dealt with, like, you know, she dealt with, like, extreme transphobia in her adult life. And she, like, got herself, she got powers, I think, when working as a prostitute. Hi there, hello, it's me, you know, the latest one. Hi, how are you? But yeah, I think she got her powers when she was working as a prostitute, which I think is also a really cool exploration of this character, of, like, the kind of life that like, people fall into because they don't really have a choice. And after she got her powers, she was able to liquefy solids and solidify liquids, and she joined the Doom Patrol, and I thought she was a really fun character. I believe her writer, I believe her writer, was a transgender woman herself. I think her writer was Rachel, Polak. Polak. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I'm really bad with names. But yeah, I think she was created by a transgender woman, and I also think that Coagula is DC's first transgender like hero in general.
Suspected break-in
I also
in progress.
think, if I remember right, she was also a lesbian character. She was also a lesbian character, and then later bisexual. But yeah, she was a member of the Doom Patrol. She was a really cool character. She was a really fun member of the Doom Patrol. Like, I don't remember how her story ended. There's a lot of DC characters that just don't get used anymore. Coagula is one of them, unfortunately. A lot of people don't really have, like, there's not really a lot to do with Coagula at all. There's just not. There's unfortunately not. But yeah, that's like, DC started shifting and, you know, openly talking about, like, gay people and gay characters and making these gay characters in, like, the early 90s. So we got stuff like Coagula. We got characters like Coagula. We got characters like John Constantine. Like, these... The thing about it was, though, is a lot of these, like, characters were more of a... like, more supporting characters. Like, a lot of these characters were more supporting characters. It wasn't, like, really, like, any main characters. And as time went on, more characters started, like, coming out as LGBTQ+. Like, Renee Montoya, the you know, former GCPD, like, detective, and, also known as the Question. I think she became the Question in the New 52. I think she became the Question in the New 52. I'm not very knowledgeable on New 52. I'm really not. Like, I fell off on New 52. And then, like, you know, the mid-2000s, like, DC made a pretty big thing where they introduced an openly lesbian, like, character within Batman, like, an important character, which was Batwoman, Kate Kane. I believe also in the New 52, Alan Scott, the original Green Lantern, was changed into a gay man. Like, he became a gay man within the New 52, which was a really cool change. I loved how DC, as time went on, started adding more and more LGBTQ+ characters. As of recently, you know, more and more characters have been, like, coming out as bisexual. Iconically, as of the past few years, Tim Drake and John Kent. But there's always been these things within DC, even when there wasn't. Like, for example, if you want to talk about, like, characters that are openly LGBTQ+, and I don't really understand how people didn't think that they were, like, I don't understand how people thought that they weren't, is the Amazons. The, like, Amazonian... What is this? Sorry, what did I just find? Okay, everybody's just partying? Hell yeah! Sure! Is the Amazons, like the Amazonian warriors from Themyscira, you know, Wonder Woman's from there, all those characters are from there. It is an island without men. And, like, as time's gone on now, you know, like, DC's pretty open about the fact that, yeah, like, most of those characters from Themyscira do not like men. They are not into men. They are lesbian, lesbian characters. They are very sapphic characters. which includes Wonder Woman, though she is one of the characters from Themyscira that is bisexual. Wonder Woman, like, you know, she is attracted to both men and women, which, you know, everybody kind of knows the backstory of Wonder Woman. You know, she's a warrior from Themyscira. Steve Trevor, like, crashed, like, on the island, and, you know, she ended up, like, going to the world of man, and ended up, you know, becoming a hero there, and, you know, part of the Justice League, like, there's a lot of Wonder Woman stories out there, and, like, she's one of the most iconic DC characters, right? So,
Will we crown
on
a
top
winner
of the Themyscirans for openly lesbian characters, like previously mentioned, we have Kate Kane. Kate Kane is, I believe she's Bruce's, like, I think in some cases she's related to Bruce, and some she's not. I think main Kate Kane is not related to Bruce, but she is she's Batwoman. You know, Kate Kane growing up, she was a military kid, like her dad was in the military, and she got like she was part of high society for some reason. I think because her dad married like an heiress of some kind.
Come in, anyone
I don't know
else?
how I just did that.
Urgent help needed in
I believe it's because her dad married an
Looks like a man's
heiress,
trying to take something
and
that isn't theirs. Over.
then, you know, she was eventually cast out of, like... She was cast out of, like, I think it was a military... What? Is this Penguins
Here
Goons?
they come.
Whatever happens, you can count on me.
She was cast out of, I think it's a military school, because of her being, like, outed as, like, openly, like, being a lesbian. Her dad was Jacob Kane. He was a military man. They moved around a lot, and eventually, like, she was inspired by the Batman and became the Batwoman. And yet she's just this she's this awesome character. I believe in the comics. I believe in the comics of DC Comics. She is dating Renee Montoya. She's dating Renee Montoya, who, like, is a former GCPD detective, turned into the Question. She has a lot. Look, Kate Kane has a lot of fun stories, right? Like, I believe she and Renee, even before they were, like, heroes, were dating, and then eventually, like, rekindled their relationship with each other. And Kate Kane just ended up becoming a hero after, like, seeing the Batman, like, in person. Like, she saw the Batman and was inspired to, like, be a vigilante as well. She had the training. She was a military kid. Like, she was already getting, like, that military training, which, while it's nowhere near as good as the training that Bruce has, like, the man was trained by, like, the League of Assassins and those Tibetan monks that he always has a technique from. Sorry, I had a pop-up on my Windows because they want me to update, and I do not want to update to Windows 11. Windows 11 is awful. But yeah, like, you know, she didn't have, like, as good of a training as Bruce did, but, you know, she still had military training. Eventually, I think Kate and Renee end up, like, running into each other again when she's, like... When Kate is Batwoman and Renee is the Question. And I think this all, like, eventually ends up leading to Kate Kane's, like, main villains, which is the Religion of Crime. There's some weird, like, culty secret group They have like a crime Bible, which I think is a funny concept. I think a crime Bible is a funny concept as a whole. And they end up becoming like Kate's like main like adversary. I believe she was part of Battle for the Cowl. You know, which Battle for the Cowl is like, you know, in Final Crisis, Batman, ends up, like, seemingly dying, and instead of, like, fighting to be the next Batman, which all the Robins were fighting over, along with Azrael, she ended up joining a group called, The Network, which was, like, heroes that were just, like, trying to keep Gotham, like, safe in Batman's absence. After Battle for the Cowl, what was, like, the next big thing? I think it would probably, the next biggest thing that I remember would probably be... At one point, she gets kidnapped by cultists, and she's gonna be, like, thrown into a Lazarus pit. She was going to be thrown into a Lazarus pit, and she ends up getting saved by Grayson, you know, who at this point is Batman. And I think she finds out that Grayson is going to, like, put Bruce in, like, Bruce Wayne's corpse into the Lazarus pit to revive him. And instead of going along with the plan, she was very, very against it. The next thing I really remember for her is she was part of Batman Inc., she was, like, helping to track down, Dr. Daedalus. And I don't remember a lot of Kate Kane. Kate Kane's a character I'm not very familiar with. There's just, like, a lot of cool stuff about Kate. Like, her being the first openly lesbian hero, is always going to be a really, really, really cool concept, a really cool thing for that character. Kate's, you know, she's Jewish. She's like a Jewish military kid who's like openly lesbian, and she becomes Batwoman, and that's just like a really, really sick, like, I don't know, I thought it was a really cool, like, way to introduce this character. Let's see, what's our next character we could talk about? I guess we could talk... Oh, you know what? Let's talk about a universe, actually. Let's talk about DC making a universe. This comes from, like, the mid-2010s. But originally, there's a universe that DC made called DC Bombshells. And originally, this universe was made just to kind of do, like, statues of, like, heroes and villains in, like, the 1940s pinup style, and, like... It was just, they were really fun figures and really cool designs, and after they ended up doing, like, their own comic run of DC Bombshells, and I'm pretty sure, not even pretty sure, I'm just gonna double check this, chat. There's a lot of the research I would do, like, I've been doing my research. I did find this before. Yeah. So DC Bombshells is an openly sapphic, like, world. Like, most of the characters in DC Bombshells are sapphic characters. Like, they, like, it is for the girlies, right? Which, if you don't know what DC Bombshell, like, the whole lore of DC Bombshells is these are all, like, the superheroes and women fighting on the front lines in World War II. Like, instead of, like, the real world history of World War II, in this world, like, female superheroes are the ones fighting What is this mark? Are the ones fighting in World War II. And you get a lot of characters within DC Bombshells, right? You get a lot of characters within DC Bombshells, but one of them is another, like, even, like, you have, like, Harley Quinn, you have, Batgirl, you have, like, every female DC superhero and villain within DC Bombshells. And what's also cool is they're not afraid to make characters for this series, and they're not afraid to make, like, transgender characters. One of the characters that's part of the Batgirls in this universe is a girl named Alyssa Yao, who is just an openly transgender woman in this universe, and it's cool. Believe this series started in 2015, which is at the height of when the United States had just legalized gay marriage. So the United States at this point had just legalized gay marriage, so this was a very fresh thing. And so DC just having a comic that was openly LGBTQ plus friendly was awesome. It was sick. It was a really good time. I love the DC Bombshells. It's, you know, I'm not a big fan of, like, the whole 1940s, like, they're fighting World War II thing, but you know, you take what you give what you get, you take what you get, I guess is the phrase.
Looks like a thief's trying to take something that isn't theirs. Over.
Dude, I have so many characters pulled up to talk about. We could skip ahead a little to. We could skip ahead. Do we skip ahead? No, actually. Let's talk a little fun thing. Chat. I'm certain if you're a DC Comics fan and you were a kid in the 2000s, you've seen the DC Animated Universe TV shows. You've probably seen Static Shock. You've probably seen Batman the Animated Series. You've probably seen Justice League. All of those kinds of shows, right? Something really cool with Static Shock. Static Shock in itself, okay? Static Shock in itself is such a insanely progressive show. It was a show made by Dwayne McDuffie. When did Static Shock come out? Let me double check this. Static Shock first aired in September of the year 2000, and it ran until May of 2004. This show is insanely progressive for its time. Like, this show has, like, as much as they show as much as they can show. There's an episode about what? How is there so many bots right off rip? That was 2 back-to-back. That was crazy.
Come in, anyone on patrol. Trouble brewing in the East End.
Static Shock is an insanely progressive show. You know, there's an episode of Static Shock where they talk about, like, bullying and school shootings and how bullies are a cycle of, like, you're gonna, like, the more you push someone, the more, like, it can cause them to have these, like, moments of snapping. And, like, it talks about the gun violence in schools. Static Shock as a whole talks about, like, there's episodes where they openly call out racist characters and, like, talk about how these characters are racist and they're wrong. Unfortunately, the show is a little bit in the era when they were still... TV networks weren't really allowing gay characters. It's very unfortunate. TV networks were very behind on this. But after Static Shock had aired, at a later time in the future, Dwayne McDuffie, like, came out and talked about the show, and one of the things he talked about was the character Richie Foley. Richie is Static Shock's, like, best friend, and eventually, like, his, like, fellow superhero Gear, who helps him out around his city, and, like, Dwayne McDuffie talked about him. And he talked about how it wasn't possible on the show due to the censorship at the time. It was the early 2000s, and, like, even Dude, TV networks even now are, like, just not really willing sometimes to show, like, gay characters, especially if they, like, are cartoon networks.
This is dispatch.
Iconically,
Emergency in the East End.
Legend of Korra in the 2010s was not allowed to show Korra and Asami being a couple. Cartoon Network was not immune to this. Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network were not immune to this, and due to the censorship at the time, Dwayne McDuffie wasn't allowed to show that Richie was an LGBTQ plus character. Richie is a gay character. Like, Richie was described as Dwayne McDuffie as a closeted gay character, but he was not allowed to show it on the show due to the censorship that, like, Cartoon Network and other networks like put in at the time. DC's representation doesn't just extend to gay characters, lesbian characters, trans characters. They also have asexual characters, such as Connor Hawke. If you don't know who Connor Hawke is the Green Arrow. He is he's a future, like, not future, but, like, he's the, like, estranged son of, Oliver Queen, right? Connor Hawke is the estranged son of Oliver Queen. I'm trying to remember a lot about Connor Hawke. Connor Hawke is a character I don't know a super ton about because I don't know a lot about, I don't know a lot about Connor Hawke. But, yeah, Connor Hawke, you know, he's the estranged son of the original Green Arrow, Oliver Queen. He is the second Green Arrow. He's like one of the world's best, like, fighters, in general. He doesn't get used a ton. Like, there's a version of him from the DC CW TV shows. There's a version of him from the DC TV shows, but, like, Connor Hawke in general doesn't get utilized a ton. Connor Hawke is entirely focused on protecting people, protecting the world, fighting crime. Like, he is a very focused character. He's a very cool character. I love Connor Hawke, and one of the coolest things I think about his character is that he is an ace character. Like, Connor Hawke is an asexual character. He has no interest in sex. It is not his thing. Yeah, I think Connor is a really cool character. I like getting, like, future characters that take over roles, like legacy roles. I believe Connor Hawke was introduced in 2017. I think it was in, like, the 2017, like, Green Arrow run. Was it that?
Warning all units. Crime in progress in
Maybe,
the East End.
like...
Officers needing
No,
urgent
it wasn't.
backup.
No, it wasn't. Was it? I don't exactly remember when Connor Hawke was introduced, but yeah, he's introduced as the, like, next Green Arrow. He's an openly asexual character. So there's more representation than just, like, bi characters, lesbian characters, pan characters, trans characters. Like, DC has very much, like, the creators at DC have tried their hardest, to, like, include, like, lots of different kinds of representation. Let's see. Who should we talk about next? We can talk about Selena Kyle. Selena Kyle is, she is Catwoman. Selena is a bisexual character. She's interested in both men and women, which I feel like if you've ever read anything about Catwoman, it makes sense. It's kind of like Harley Quinn and Ivy. a lot of people were, like, upset and angry and annoyed about, like, Harley Quinn and Ivy, like, becoming a couple, and, like, these changes to these characters, and, quite frankly, like, if you've ever read these characters, it just kind of makes sense. I believe at some point, I think she was involved with a woman named Aiko. I believe at one point she was romantically involved with a woman named Aiko, who was the second Catwoman within Gotham. I believe she was introduced in the early 2010s, so like around 2013, 2014. Not Selena Kyle, obviously. Selena Kyle has been around for years and years and years and years, right? Like, Selena's been around since, like, the early runs of Batman. But Aiko, I believe, has been around since, like, the early 2010s, so, like, around anywhere from, like, 2010 to, like, 2014. I believe it's closer to, like, 2013 or 2014. She's kind of, like, got the whole vibe of Catwoman still. Like, she wears the Catwoman suit. She wears the Catwoman suit. She has Catwoman's, like, abilities, skills, all of that. But, yeah, Catwoman was, Selena Kyle is a bisexual character, so, like, she does have a relationship with Bruce. But she also has relationships with women as well. I believe Catwoman was made bisexual, like, officially. I believe it was in the mid-2010s. I believe it was 2015. I believe it was 2015. DC made a lot of these changes when the United States finally, like, legalized gay marriage. And so a lot of these characters, had these changes come in, when, after the United States government had finally, like, made these decisions and, like, made these choices to legalize gay marriage, which was awesome. It was sick. It was really cool that DC finally, like, made these characters, more than just, alright, every character is straight. Such as, like, Alan Scott. Alan Scott was changed to be gay. If you don't know Alan Scott is the very first, like, Lantern of DC Comics. He's the Green Lantern of Earth 2. He's not, like, the main universe, he's not, like, the main universe Green Lantern, but, he is, like, the original Green Lantern. He was, like, he was, like, a big media mogul, like, big, like, TV network, like, owner. I believe he owned, I think it was GBC, and he had a relationship with a, character named Sam Zhao, who was, I believe he was a businessman and millionaire, and unfortunately, like, Sam went back to, like, the country he was from, like, on a visit, on a, like, a business trip, and, like, Alan Scott went with him and was going to propose to him, and tragically, just before, like, they accepted the proposal, like, the train they were on crashed, and every passenger except Alan was killed, including his boyfriend, Sam. And it was after this train crash that, like, Alan Scott became the Green Lantern of Earth 2. And if you don't know what Earth 2 is, different universe than the mainline DC universe. Iconically, it's where Alan Scott is from. It's where Jay Garrick's Flash is from. It's just an alternate universe. A lot of characters that are, like, iconic DC characters, but not really main DC characters are from there. I believe it's also where... What are some of the iconic Earth 2 characters? I believe Earth 2 had a version of Thomas Wayne as Batman, I think? I don't know a lot about Earth 2, unfortunately. I don't know a lot about Earth 2, unfortunately, but it has, like, a lot of, like, the older heroes. So this is also where, like, you would have, like, a version of Red Tornado. You would have Dr. Fate. But yeah, Alan Scott was part of those teams. Let's see, what is, like, one of my most iconic things that, like, Alan was part of that I can remember? I think he, at one point, had to fight Solomon Grundy. If I'm remembering right, there was at one point that, he had to fight out, like, Alan had to fight Solomon Grundy. Where he ended up taking Grundy to the moon. Like, they couldn't fight Solomon Grundy so bad that they had to just take Solomon Grundy to the moon. Solomon Grundy was just delivered to the moon and left there for the next space expedition to find, I suppose. But yeah, Alan Scott was, you know, he's a Green Lantern. I don't believe he can leave Earth like the other Green Lanterns. I believe that when he left Earth to put Grundy on the moon, like, he lost his connection to his ring, to the powers of the Green Lantern, and ended up crash landing back down to Earth. At one point, Alan ends up, like, going after various gangs from China where Sam was murdered, because Sam's father believes that the target of the train attack was Sam. He just, you know, Alan starts going after these gangs. He's like, just, he wants to know why he was murdered. And I don't think he ever really gets an answer. I don't think he ever really gets an answer, because it ends up leading to like, something to do with parademons. As I said, I don't know a lot about Alan Scott as a character, unfortunately. The character I do know a lot about, though, is Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is a character that was created in the 1990s animated series, Batman the Animated Series. You know, she was initially created to be a kind of version of Robin, but for the Joker. She was meant to, you know, sort of be like Joker's Robin within Batman the Animated Series. And she was created by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and everybody over there. And she was so popular that she was brought into the mainline DC Comics. And now, Harley Quinn, as she is nowadays, is very different to Harley Quinn as she was in the 90s. Harley Quinn in the 90s was much more of a character that is this, like, tragic victim of abuse, and she still has that origin, right? Obviously, comics obviously comics will keep origins of characters like that. But she's evolved to be much more of a character. Sometimes I don't enjoy the evolving that Harley has done. I think sometimes, depending on the writer that Harley gets, she unfortunately starts feeling like a bit like DC's version of Deadpool. DC really wanted to get their own version of Deadpool, and unfortunately, at times they make Harley into Deadpool, and I don't think it personally like works as well as DC thinks it does. But yeah, Harley at the start, I don't think really had any kind of like sexuality explained, other than
Looks like we've got someone's attention.
Other than the fact, you know, that she was in love with the Joker. Like, she didn't love anybody except the Joker. And nowadays, like, Harley is a, you know what? I'm just gonna, you know what? You guys have fun at the gas station. I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to deal with you. I'm tired of every little group of goons, having a, like, guy that's, like, 3 of me. Wait, is this the Wayne Corville? Huh. So it is. Is there like a little mini Batcave at the top of the building? That's crazy. I don't think I've ever gone on top of this building. Fine. You learn something new. You learn something new, chat, every day. Never stop learning. But yeah, Harley Quinn at the start was introduced as like, you know, she was not like a character who loved anyone other than the Joker, and eventually, you know, she grew and changed, and Harley Quinn like was revealed to be a bisexual character because she has a very like notably famous romance with Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy is also bisexual, I believe. It also depends on like the adaptation. Some people will write Poison Ivy as like bisexual. Some will write her as a lesbian. But no matter what, she loves. Pamela Isley loves women. I believe. Actually, hold on. I might have been wrong. I know in her original depiction, she was originally shown as just, like, kind of being in love with the Joker. I did forget about some of the scenes later in the animated series. It once again comes down to censorship. She had a close friendship with Poison Ivy, and there was always little hints in the show that those two liked each other. But again, due to censorship, DC Comics, you know, like, the DC, like, people weren't allowed to show these things. Bruce Timm, Paul Dini weren't allowed to make Harley and Ivy be a couple. But there's, like, little scenes. I think, iconically, there's, like, a scene, like, there's the episode where they're, like, where there's the episode where Harley and Ivy are going out on a, like, shopping spree. And, like, they're just going around together. I believe that, like, when she was officially made bisexual in the comics was 2015. Again, DC in the mid-2010s, like, after the US legalized gay marriage, like, started making a lot of characters openly, like, openly LGBTQ+, which was awesome. I think in the DCEU, which is also a weird situation because I believe Harley Quinn is going to be one of the characters that is unchanged from the DCEU to the DCU. The DCEU version of Harley Quinn was also revealed to be bisexual because of the movie Birds of Prey. So every adaptation of Harley Quinn is openly bisexual, which is great. But yeah, Harley is... Man, what can I say about Harley? She is one of DC's most iconic villains. She's one of, like, DC's, like, favorite villains to use. She's often a member of the Suicide Squad. She's often causing... I don't think so much these days. I don't think she's really causing problems for Batman too much these days. I think nowadays she's more of an anti-hero. Like... She's more of an anti-hero these days rather than, like, rogues gallery villain. But at the start, she was, like, one of Batman's rogue galleries. She does, like, a lot of work with the Suicide Squad, which there's really never, like, a set team for the Suicide Squad. Like, you have some mainstays in the Suicide Squad. Like, obviously, Amanda Waller always runs the Suicide Squad. Like, she always runs Task Force X. I believe Rick Flag is usually involved with Task Force X. Let's see. Let me find the main... You find the main Task Force X, like, roster. Okay. Yeah, so... Suicide Squad, has always had, like, a bunch of different characters. Captain Boomerang's been part of it. Bronze Tiger's been part of it. Rick Flag is, Rick Flag. Deadshot. I think at one point Penguin was part of it. The Suicide Squad can be whatever group they want it to be. Because the whole point of the Suicide Squad is that they take these villains that are in jail for multiple life sentences, they stick a bomb in their neck and say, okay, great, you're now going to work for us. But yeah, the Suicide Squad changes based off of the run. I believe the most recent version of the Suicide Squad had Bizarro. I think Bizarro was one of them. I think Dreamer was one of them, which is also another openly LGBTQ plus character. She is a she's a trans character. I believe she was initially created for the Supergirl TV show from the Arrowverse. And then in 2021 made her first comic appearance. I believe that's the case, but yeah. She was initially from the Supergirl TV show. She is an openly trans character. I believe even in the show, she's portrayed by a trans actress, which is amazing. And eventually made her comic debut in 2021 when DC started doing DC Pride. But yeah, the most recent Suicide Squad team would be Harley Quinn, Dreamer, Clock King, Bizarro, Black Alice, Deadeye, Time Commander, and Parasite. But there's been so many different versions of there's been so many different versions of the Suicide Squad over the years. Like it's never really like one set squad. There's some mainstays, but there's never really one set squad. And Harley's usually on that team a lot. When she's not in her solo book, she's usually on the Suicide Squad. Yeah, Harley is canonically in a relationship with Poison Ivy. her and Ivy are dating. She's no longer involved with the Joker. She's no longer his sidekick. She's no longer, she's no longer his girlfriend. None of that. Like, she is done. She is done with the Joker, and now dates Poison Ivy. Which also, same thing with Poison Ivy. There's been hints over the years. There's been lots of hints over the years of Ivy being bisexual. Again, Ivy's kind of a situation where you look at the character and you just kind of say, I always thought that was a thing. We needed that confirmed? She was also revealed in 2015, I think, to be bisexual. But again, you know, Batman the Animated Series, her and Harley were like being hinted at being a couple, but you know, it was the early 1990s. I believe it was like 1993. 1993 or 1992. So unfortunately, despite the fact that they wanted them to be you know, LGBTQ plus characters in that show, they weren't allowed to have them be LGBTQ plus characters in the show. But yeah, Ivy, you know, like, revealed, like, to be bisexual, with the fact that, like, she's dating Harley Quinn. Like, they you know, they're romantically involved, they're girlfriends. I don't think they're monogamous. I think Harley and Ivy are polyamorous, which isn't really like a sexuality thing at all. Like, you can be like, you can be bi, pan, gay, straight, and be poly or you know, monogamous. But I believe Harley and Ivy are poly. Ivy. Oh yeah, Ivy is Ivy is typically bisexual. I believe she's had a relationship with, like, other male characters. I think in the animated Harley Quinn TV show, she was initially dating Kite Man, which is interesting choice, but I also think it just depends on the run of who's writing Ivy, and, like, what universe it is, because Ivy's also, like, a character where I could absolutely see somebody writing Ivy as she doesn't like men, right? Like, I could see her as a lesbian character. I could see her as a bi character. And speaking of bi characters, we have a couple from recent times. Let's start off with the less obvious one. Let's start off with John Kent. John Kent is, you know, he was Superboy, and then, okay, this is where DC lost me again after Rebirth. They reintroduced John Kent in Rebirth as Superboy, and then he was aged up to like 17 or 18. And eventually he went to the future to join the Legion of Superheroes in the 31st century, and then came back and became the new Superman, while the original Superman was on a journey or mission to, I believe, War World. And I believe he now goes as I believe his identity now is Tomorrow Man rather than Superman. John is an openly bisexual character. John Kent is an openly bisexual character. I believe he used to. I don't know if he still does date this character, or if it's a used to. I think he still dates this character, but he dates a character named Jay Nakamura, who is this character who's like really interested in like journalism and activism. I believe he was experimented on and has like artificially created metahuman powers. Poor John Kent. I'm not the biggest fan of some of the story decisions with John Kent. Like I love that we have a bisexual Superman. I personally think they should have just kept calling him Superman. It's like Spider-Man, you can have multiple Supermans. I love that we have, like, our first, like, openly bisexual Superman. I think that's a lot of fun. I'm not a big fan of them aging him up, but I don't know. I like the stories that have come out of I've liked some of the stories that have come out of John Kent. John Kent is just a name I hear, and sometimes it's a boy and sometimes a man. That's because John Kent got aged up from, like, 12 to 18. But yeah, I don't know. I like John Kent as a character. I like that we have a bisexual Superman. I think his boyfriend's story is really interesting. Being that he was experimented on by like, being that he was experimented on by, like, I don't remember who it was that experimented on him, but, like, he has artificial, like, Jay Nakamura has artificial, like, metahuman powers. I think he can like phase through things and go invisible. And I believe his, like, code name is Gossamer. But yeah, the stories with him and John are very cute, very sweet. I don't think DC's done the greatest job with John Kent as a character. Obviously, you know, John Kent was introduced in Rebirth, when, you know, DC was starting to recorrect from the New 52. It's the best way I can put it. They didn't want to move on and destroy the New 52 like they did everything before the New 52. But it was obvious, like, DC was like, okay, nobody likes the New 52. We need a change up. Like, we need a change up. So one of the things that DC did in the New 52 was they killed the New 52 version of Superman. And in his place came the pre-52 Superman. Yo, Master Gamerload, thank you for the gifted sub. Thank you. What the hell? Thank you. My God, if you got it, listen. If you got the sub, be sure to thank Master Gamerlow. Master Gamerlow, thank you so much for the gifted sub. But yeah, DC in the New 52, like, as they're going into Rebirth, they decide, we're killing the New 52 Superman, and we're going to bring back the original, like, pre-52 Superman, and one of the, in doing so, one of the things that happens there is, Superman has, John Kent, his son, and, John is just, like, very fresh to everything. He doesn't really have his powers yet. He's just starting to get his powers, which leads to, I'll be honest with you, leads to one of DC's most fucked up panels, where John accidentally kills his own cat. Yeah, John would continue to work with Superman as Superboy, his sidekick. Not the first Superboy by any means. There is a few other Superboys in the DC universe. There's obviously Superboy Prime, which that's a really cool character. I honestly, I'd love to do a video on Superboy Prime. As a whole, Superboy Prime is a really cool character. Like Connor Kent. Yes, exactly, like Connor Kent. Connor Kent is a very different character depending on what media adaptation you look at. In the comics, he's like this cocky, like cool, like yeah, like this guy's cool. Like this is like your cocky, like antithesis to Superman. You think John and Jay broke up a while ago because Jay wanted him to go full injustice to avenge his devastated home country of Gamora? See, I didn't know that. I've been a little bit out of the comic game. I've been recently getting back into it. I've been recently getting back into it. I know a lot of... Okay, when it comes to DC Comics, my main knowledge is pre-52. Certain aspects of New 52, like, like certain aspects of New 52, and then Rebirth. Rebirth up until they did the storyline where they made Wally West a serial killer. Them making Wally West a serial killer kind of made me fall out of love with comics for a bit, and so I stopped reading. But I've been back into it recently. I've been getting back into it, and I want to go back and catch up on stories. So, you know, I everything like pre-New 52 and Rebirth is like my main like bits of knowledge. But yeah, like Connor Kent. There is another Superboy named Connor Kent. You know, he's from pre-52. Connor Kent is an interesting character because there are very different adaptations of Connor Kent. For example, Connor Kent gets adapted in the animated series Young Justice. Love that show. First season of Young Justice, mwah, 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 peak. Very peak show. But he's a very different character. He's not cocky, he's angry, he's not cool, he's fresh to the world. But we're gonna get back to Superboy because we're gonna get back to Connor in a second. But yeah, John is the most recent Superboy, or was the most recent Superboy, until he was aged up. I don't... Where was the... What was it that caused him to age up? I believe something happened that made him, like, experience time differently. And he came back as, like an 18-year-old man, rather than the 12-year-old boy he was? I think he got stuck on Earth 3. I think he got stuck on Earth 3 and had to, like, fight against the crime syndicate. And then, like, he came back to his Earth, which had only been, like, 3 weeks since he disappeared. And now, but for him, it had been years. And yeah, John is now, like, technically, I guess, Tomorrow Man, but, like, he's basically, like, the second Superman. You can have multiple Supermen, personally. I think Superman, very much like Spider-Man, you can have a second Superman. But yeah, John, you know, did have a boyfriend, but I didn't know this. This is my bad. I did not. Every little bit of research I found pointed him to still being in this relationship, unfortunately. But he's no longer in this relationship. Ultraman trapped him in a volcano and tortured him for years. Yeah. Okay, that's what it was. I did know it had to do with, like, Ultraman and the crime syndicate. Also, sorry for not moving around as much, chat. I'm trying to lock in. I'm trying to lock in and actually get this stuff. Why am I still fighting? Hold on. Are they chasing me? If I run this way? What if we go this way? What if Rainbow Batman goes this way? We'll just go over to a completely different island. We'll just go over to a completely different island. Yeah, every bit of research I could find into John Kent's, like, relationships, like, it made it seem like they were still in a relationship. But unfortunately, it looks like they broke up. But it is cool to see an openly bisexual Superman. Despite them wanting to call him Tomorrow Man, which I don't know how I feel about Tomorrow Man as a name. It's not great. It is not a great name by any means. But yeah, so that's John Kent, and then we lead to our other, you know, he's not he's not one of the Boy Scouts, but he does iconically have a friendship that everybody thought was a relationship, myself included, and to the point that when he was revealed to be bi, I did not realize this character wasn't already confirmed to be bi, which is good old Timothy Drake. Tim Drake is the third Robin. Tim Drake is the third Robin. He stepped into the role of Robin after the death of Jason Todd. Tim Drake was able to deduce the identity of Batman and Robin because he was a massive fan of the Flying Graysons, and saw, like, Dick Grayson doing moves that only Dick Grayson, the last remaining Flying Grayson, could do. And so from that, he was able to deduce, oh, well, Dick Grayson is the original Robin, which must mean that Bruce Wayne is Batman. And so after the death of Jason Todd, you know, Tim stepped into the role of Robin, later becoming known as Red Robin, and then going back to Robin. DC just, I'm gonna be honest, Tim is one of those characters DC can't figure out. What's worse, Tomorrow Man or Tim making his new superhero Drake, like the bird? I would rather have Tomorrow Man than Drake. I would rather have Tomorrow Man than Drake. Red Robin is a perfect vigilante name. I don't know why. Listen, I'll just say it. I have said it for a long time. DC has no clue what they want to do with Tim, which is why I'm really excited for the fact that Tim is retiring. Okay, I really like that Tim. So DC is retiring 2 Robins. Okay, we'll get to it fully, but DC's retiring 2 Robins, which is Tim and Damian, and I like that they're retiring both of them. Damian deserves to be retired and do something other than fighting crime and like harming people, because it's a good change, because that's what he was made to be by his mother. And so him wanting to be a doctor is an extremely, extremely fun change for that character. And I think Tim just should be a civilian. Last time Tim retired, he became the Joker. True. Hopefully that doesn't happen now in the comics. But yeah, Tim Drake, Tim Drake, became the Robin because, he figured out that Batman was Bruce Wayne and the original Robin was Nightwing. The original Robin was Dick Grayson because he was a big fan of the Flying Graysons and saw Grayson doing moves that only the Flying Graysons can do. I believe Tim is a founding member of Young Justice. Which is a very different team in the comics than it is in the TV show. And in Young Justice, Tim had a friendship with the original Superboy, Connor Kent. Which, from everything I've been able to find, was initially meant to be like those two as bisexual characters. To the point that everybody thought that they were, including myself, but apparently that just wasn't a thing. Apparently that just wasn't a thing. And I didn't know that for years. And I only found that out when researching this. Because I was like, what? like crash outs from certain kinds of people about Tim Drake being bi, and I was like, hasn't Tim Drake been bi for like 20 years? Hasn't Tim Drake been bi since like the Young Justice days? And no, apparently that's just not a thing. All right. Apparently that's just not a thing. Oh my god. When it comes to Tim Drake, he is, I don't really know post 52, but I believe generally in pre New 52 canon, Tim Drake is considered to be the smartest out of any of the Bat family. He is the most detective-like out of any of them. Like even manages to like outsmart Bruce and be able to figure out cases that like Bruce has a bit of a struggle with. You know, Grayson is generally like the one that's best fit to be the next Batman. You know, he's the golden boy, he's the original, he's the most acrobatic. Bruce is the not Bruce. Jason is the one that's the most like Bruce. They are like built similarly, they fight similarly. Damian is the like fun change up to Robin, where Robin is no longer the quippy fun one. It's why the Dick Grayson like Damian Wayne like run of Batman is still my favorite run of Batman. But Tim has always been the smartest one. Tim has been the smartest one. And that's been Tim's thing. You're right. No, technically, okay. I say smartest in terms of being a detective. I mean smart in terms of being the detective. Barbara is the smartest. Like, in terms of generally being smart, yeah, it's Barbara. Like, that girl is Oracle, right? Tim is the best detective, and that's what I mean by smart. Because, he's able to deduce cases that, like, even Bruce struggles with. Barbara is generally the smartest, though it also depends. It depends with Barbara. If we're talking pre-52, yes. I think they changed, like, she became really inexperienced when they went to New 52 because Batgirl by Burnside is very, like, Barbara starting out. And I don't know if Barbara has had her Oracle moment yet in New 52. I'm just chilling and... Alright. Yeah, I don't know if Barbara has been Oracle in New 52. Again, I don't know much about New 52. Unfortunately, I was not a fan of the New 52. And I have not read as much about the New 52 as I would like to. But yeah, if we're talking like general smarts, like computer smarts, like it is Barbara. Tim is the smartest when it comes to being a detective. But yeah, so Tim joins as the third Robin, eventually leaving and striking out as Red Robin. Later as Drake, because he goes back to the role of Robin, the name Robin. He goes back to the name of Robin, but, like, eventually goes to Drake, and then I think goes back to Robin when everybody hated the name, Drake. Okay, can I? Alright, cool. You got a launch point. You know, he has been part of many iconic Batman storylines. Battle for the Cowl, like, Battle for the Cowl was an interesting time. For Tim. He was also involved with, Tim's been involved with the Young Justice team, which is where I thought, like, he was bi. All the way up until now, you know, Tim, you know, in recent times, DC's been, very struggling a lot. they've been struggling a lot with Tim as a character. Unfortunately, wasn't he the Robin during Nightfall? I believe he was Robin during Nightfall. I believe so.
Trouble brewing in the East End.
I believe so.
The bad guys are fighting? No, why? Better check it out. Over.
Let me double check. Yes. Yes? Yes. Because I believe he's the one that questions Jean-Paul Valley during... I believe he's the one that actually questions Jean-Paul Valley and his actions during Nightfall. Which, if you guys don't know what Nightfall is the 1993 Batman story arc where, like, Bane breaks out, like, every villain Batman's ever faced from Arkham and Blackgate and has him deal with them to the point that he becomes exhausted, and then Bane, like, comes in and attacks Batman and, like, snaps his back. Just, like, full-on breaks his back. Jean-Paul Valley ends up taking over for Batman, which is who is known as Azrael. Goes a little crazy with, like, what he was doing, and you know, not really the best fit for being Batman. And Tim is part of that storyline. You know, Tim is one of the most iconic characters, and for a long time he was in a relationship with Stephanie Brown. You know, one of technically the fourth Robin. Azrael Batman is pure 90s. It is pure 90s. Azrael is not a good choice for Batman. Again, Grayson is always the best choice to be Batman, but he doesn't want that responsibility, which is also why I think it's really cool that they introduced Terry McGinnis into the mainline DC universe. But yeah, but yes, Tim, you know, iconically is, like, in a relationship with Stephanie Brown for a lot of comics, who is the fourth Robin, technically, though her run as Robin didn't last long. I don't exactly remember why Stephanie stopped being Robin. I have a feeling... I don't remember what the reasons why they removed her from Robin is, but then she eventually became Batgirl, and then Spoiler. And in recent times, in 2021, DC officially revealed Tim to be... I think she almost died. Was that what it was? I know that they're... I don't fully remember... Like, Steph's time as Robin is, like... It's hard to remember exactly what happened, but I also think there was, like, out-of-canon reasons why they changed it.
Calling all units. Head to Gotham Village. Bad guys turning the town to total trash. Over.
Hello? Why is it just... Why can't I just grapple, please? Just want to grapple. But in 2021, DC Comics revealed that, like, made a major change to Tim's character, which is making him, bisexual. He ends up realizing that he has feelings for his friend Bernard, and those two enter into a relationship, which, eventually, over the past couple years, again with DC, like, kind of, like, not really knowing what to do with Tim's character, it led to this moment recently where Tim wants to lead a normal life and, like, spend time with his boyfriend and not be a vigilante. So Tim has recently retired to go, you know, have a relationship and be... Hello? Why does it keep, like, stopping me? Please, I just wanna fly. Tim has recently, like, quit being, Robin again to be, you know, go spend time and be in a relationship. What costume did I just get? What costume was that? Is that a Nightwing costume? Was it this? Whose costume did I just get? Oh, it's Barbara. Okay. Why did she turn into Avril Lavigne from the Hello Kitty music video? I don't know. That's a whole other aside. But yeah, Tim Drake is often Robin in a lot of pieces of media. Tim Drake is Robin in the new Batman Adventures, though admittedly Tim Drake in the new Batman Adventures is Tim Drake in the new Batman Adventures is mostly Jason Todd, but just with the name Tim Drake. They just basically made him Jason Todd because they didn't want to adapt Death in the Family, so they changed Jason's name to Tim's name, and just went with that. He's the Robin in the Batman Arkham games. Tim is... I think when most people think of Robin, people think of Tim and Damian. I think if you asked like 10 years ago, everybody would think about Tim before Damian. I think it's much more split these days. I think a lot more people are enjoying Damian now compared to like years ago, because Damian was not a liked character for a while. People didn't really like Damian for a while.
Backup requested by officers at the scene. Over.
All right. But yeah, Tim's been involved with some of the like more iconic Batman storylines. For example, yeah, Nightfall is one of them. He was Robin during Nightfall. There is also let's see. I'm just trying to think of like what I would consider I'm trying to think of what I would consider like some of the most iconic storylines with Tim Drake. I mean, let's see. Tim, well, I don't know. It might be Damian now. It might be Damian. Actually, no, because, like, Tim keeps going back to... Yeah, I would say he's probably the longest-running Robin. I think it doesn't help that even when they adapt other Robins, they give them Tim stuff. Yeah, Tim is... Again, Tim... Like, DC kind of doesn't like Tim. Tim doesn't get utilized nearly as often. Tim doesn't really get utilized nearly as often, and a lot of his stuff gets taken. But, let's see, yeah, I mean, he was part of Nightfall. I mean, we could talk a little bit about Nightfall, obviously. Like, you know, I'm pretty sure Tim was the one who was supposed to train Azrael in Nightfall. And then, you know, Bane breaks open Arkham Asylum, and, I think Tim was the first one to figure out that, if I remember right, Tim was the first one to figure out that Bane was responsible with setting every villain free from Arkham. And, you know, this is the era where Bruce is still, like, freaking out because of Jason's death. Like, Tim... Also, as a character, early on in his career, had to deal with the fact that, like, he had an overprotective Bruce to deal with. A lot of, like, Tim's training came from the fact that the Joker killed Jason. Tim has a much more armored and protected suit. There's multiple trackers within every aspect of the suit. And at one point during Nightfall, like, Bruce just straight up told Tim that, like, he did not want Tim involved because he was, like, afraid for Tim's safety. Though, like, Tim, like, still just ignored him and helped him and ended up proving Bruce wrong, but, Tim ends up being one of the two to find Bruce, who had his back broken by Bane. It was Robin and Azrael, Tim and Azrael, Jean St. Paul, and they get him back to the Batcave to begin, helping him recover, and Bruce, for some reason, asks Tim to give Jean-Paul the mantle of the Bat. I still don't really understand Bruce's decision here. You can just call in Grayson, but maybe, you know, I think hindsight is 20/20, but also we probably wouldn't have got the really fun Grayson Batman run if they did that. But yeah, Jean-Paul becomes Batman, and Tim is the first one to notice that, like, he is just becoming detached and, like, you know, like, overdoing it. And, like, the power of being Batman is just, like, going to Jean-Paul's head. And, during this, he gets, like, he goes out to, like, check on Jean-Paul, and his father gets kidnapped, I think, during this. And eventually, like, he gets put, like, eventually Azrael ends up, like, forcing Robin, like, out. Didn't want him to be his sidekick. And then Jean-Paul defeats Bane, and, you know, Tim just goes off on his own. Like, Jean-Paul, like, blocks him from the Batcave. You know, Tim goes off on his own. I think the next major thing would be Night's End. No, the next major thing would be right before Night's End, when he watches Jean-Paul, like, refuse to help a person and let them fall to their death. After that, you know, Robin, you know, when Bruce is back, and, you know, Bruce starts training because Jean-Paul has just ruined the mantle of the Bat by doing this. And so he wants to take the mantle back. So Bruce trains, I think, with Lady Shiva, and, you know, Tim and Nightwing, you know, they keep an eye on Jean-Paul, and Jean-Paul is just losing his mind. And, you know, eventually leads with Batman getting his mantle back as the Bat. And, you know, all is well that ends well, you know? There's the iconic No Man's Land storyline, you know, which gets adapted a bit in, Tim dated Jubilee from Marvel. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know anything about the Marvel DC crossovers, except that Captain America and Superman hate each other. Yeah, No Man's Land is one of the most iconic, I think, Batman storylines. So Gotham gets hit with a massive earthquake. It levels a large amount of the city. A large amount of the city falls into water. And eventually, I believe, the United States essentially declares, Gotham City, quarantined, because it's in ruins, it's getting worse, crime is rising, and, so the United States government just quarantines, Gotham and declares it a no man's land. And so, Robin and Nightwing, end up coming back to back to Gotham and have to help out in, like, just the fact that Gotham is just, like, its own little thing. So just Gotham normally, yeah. Like, there's, like, just tons of gang wars. Like, there's, like, everybody's dealing with the fact that the city is in ruins from an earthquake, and it's essentially a crime town again. I think it's also around the time of No Man's Land that Robin, like Tim Drake, Robin, Superboy, and Impulse made the Team Young Justice with those three plus Wonder Girl and I think Arrowette. And then, you know, Young Justice was, like, their own team for a while. And then it eventually gets rebranded into the latest, like, at the time, the latest and newest version of the Teen Titans. You know, Tim eventually has to deal with the fact Jason Todd returns. There's Infinite Crisis. Tim's had a long run in DC Comics, to say the least. Let's see. And then we have in animated characters again. Didn't pretty much every single Batman adaptation in the 2000s do a version of No Man's Land? I don't think animated series was in 2000s. I don't know about the Batman 2004. I know Arkham City did. Arkham City is a version of No Man's Land. The entire bit of Arkham City is a part of Gotham that fell into, like, ruin from the earthquakes. The next character we have, there's not a lot to talk about. We have Calderon from Young Justice. I don't think his, like, sexuality is explicitly stated. I don't think he's, like, ever really had, like, a defined sexuality. But Calderon, was originally in a relationship with Tula, and then as of season 3, was in a relationship with Wind, a Atlantean man that was part of King Orin's royal guard. He becomes the boyfriend of Calder, who at that point is Aquaman. There's not really a lot to say about Calder. We don't really know a lot. Like, he's one of the founding members of Young Justice in this universe. In season 2, he goes undercover with the Reach. And in season 3, he's now Aquaman, right? He's not exactly based off of, exactly based off of Jackson Hyde. But Jackson Hyde is essentially, like, the comics version of Calderon. I believe he is also LGBTQ+. Let me double check this. I think I pulled up his profile for a reason. Yeah, I believe Jackson in the comics is, like, a gay character. In contrast to Calder, who is at the very least bisexual. And yeah, I don't know a lot about Jackson. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know a lot about Jackson. Jackson was introduced at a time that I wasn't reading comics, and the most I was interacting with DC was the Young Justice cartoon. Unfortunately. So, I don't know a lot about Jackson, but he is, he is a gay character. He's the current, I believe he's the current Aquaman. I think he's, like, the current Aquaman, or was Aquaman. But for a while, he was Aqualad. And he might have returned to Aqualad. And chat, the last thing we have to talk about with DC Comics and Pride in DC, or the couple things. The first thing is talking about how in 2021 DC and launched a new initiative for DC, which is DC Pride. Every June they they do Pride comics and Pride variant covers. We have some for this year as well, but in the year of, I believe it was 2022, is the second year they did DC Pride, a really fun comic story came about from DC Pride, which was titled Finding Batman. We've talked a little bit about actors who are openly LGBTQ plus today with characters and media adaptations of Batman. The one we haven't talked about yet is who, to me, is the Batman. Kevin Conroy. Kevin Conroy, for years and years and years, even back when Batman the Animated Series was a thing, was an openly gay man. And for DC Pride in 2022, Kevin Conroy was asked by DC to write a little thing about being Batman. And so Kevin wrote a little comic that's kind of like an autobiography. It was talking about him being in the acting industry as a gay man, the things he had to deal with. He dealt with people openly calling him slurs. He dealt with losing out on voice roles and acting gigs because network executives knew that he was gay and they didn't want him involved with their show. He was taking care of his mentally ill brother for years and years and years, and even dealt with sometime outlashes from his brother that had him calling his own brother calling him slurs. And he talks about how eventually he gets a call about Batman the Animated Series, and they're describing the character to him, and they're asking him, can you get into the mind of the character? Can you become the Batman, essentially? And he talks about how those experiences, how did I do that? Those experiences of being a gay man in the acting industry in the 80s and 90s, it really helped him get into the mind of the Batman, and that was inspiration he drew upon for his performance as Batman in Batman the Animated Series. And I thought that was a really cool comic. I don't know. I'm very happy that DC has been very progressing forward with characters. I love that DC DC's been very openly LGBTQ plus friendly with their stories. It's a nice change up. Not a lot of comic companies are. Unfortunately, you still deal with a lot of homophobia, transphobia, lots of different things. But it's nice having that DC is to the point where they're openly doing things during Pride for Pride covers and everything. Big fan of it. That's not we could do whole deep dives into each character. I tried to fit as much as I could into 2 hours, chat. I tried to do my best to fit as much as I could into 2 hours. 2 hour, a 2 hour time frame for you guys, because there's so many things to go over for DC Comics Pride. And I'm certain there's some things I probably missed. I am certain there's some things that I probably missed, and that's okay. I tried to cover as many characters of different sexualities, gender identities, etc., etc. DC has gender fluid characters. They have transgender characters. They have gay characters. They have bi characters. They have lesbian characters. They have pan characters. They have ace characters. DC over the years has very, like, especially since the 2010s, has rapidly become a very progressive place for comics. Despite the comics industry still at times not feeling as welcoming for LGBTQ plus people, unfortunately, comics can draw in certain kinds of crowds that aren't exact, and for a long time, like, they appealed to these people too. So it's not always the it's not always, like, it hasn't always been the best, but DC in I would say the last, like, 11 to 13 years has been very, like, each year becoming more and more progressive and more inclusive for LGBTQ plus people, and it's really nice to see. And that, chat, is our little 2-hour yap sesh about like pride in DC Comics. I don't really have a lot like. I don't really have a lot else to discuss in specifics, but what I can do is I could play Lego Batman for a little bit longer. And if you guys would like to ask any questions about any specific characters, I would answer as well as I can. I can't guarantee I'll always have the answer, but I will answer as well as I can. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of a lot of, like, the characters and changes that they've introduced. I think they work really well, especially for characters like Harley and, like, Catwoman, like, and Tim. Like, I know a lot of people hate, like, a lot of people were mad about, like, Tim's, like, change. And I never understood it, because I always thought that that was something that was already a thing with Tim Drake, because of the Young Justice series with him and Superboy.
Uh-huh.
Go to the store and get some cool new pens.
And enjoy your pens, I guess? It's a similar case with, like, Harley. Like, Harley, for years, everyone was like, yeah, like, that wasn't a thing already?
Only one way to find out.
What is this? Oh, okay, hold on. I have to turn it. Okay, I see. Wait. Yes, like this? Okay, hold on, chat. We're gonna figure out this puzzle.
Attention all officers. It's all going down
Did I
in
do it?
Newtown. Citizen is fending off a wannabe thief.
Did I do it? Do I have a personal favorite LGBTQ plus character from DC Comics? Ooh. I mean, Harley is always high up there for me. I really love Harley. I love the Harley and Poison Ivy dynamic. Coagula, Dreamer. I'm a big fan of, like DC having openly transgender characters. Coagula hasn't really been used a lot. And Dreamer is more recent. I haven't really read a lot of the comic stories with Dreamer, and I wasn't really the biggest fan of the Supergirl TV show. So I'd say probably, like, Harley or Tim. A big fan of Tim, big fan of Harley. John Constantine's always a favorite. I guess Lucifer Morningstar, if you count the Lucifer TV show. If you count, like, Lucifer as like those comics and, like, that TV show. Very fun. Very, like, those are good. Yeah, I guess I would just say, I guess my, like, full answer would be Harley. If I had to pick one, I would say Harley Quinn. I would say Harley Quinn. Alright, drive me. Take me somewhere. You know what? I'll get on this one. Oh, they're actually gonna drive me. Alright. I have no clue where it's gonna take me, but let's go for a ride, I guess. Yeah, I would say Harley. I think Harley is just a really interesting character. I like the changes she's gone through over the years. I like that she's no longer the Joker's, like, I'm very happy that she's no longer the Joker's sidekick. I really like the fact that they, like, went all in on the Harley and Ivy relationship. Harley at times isn't my favorite character. I don't really like when DC tries to make her the DC version of Deadpool. They already have a character that, like, works for that already, which is Superboy Prime. Because Superboy Prime is, like, Superboy Prime is, like, a comic book fan that knows he's, like, in the DC comics. They already have a character that works as, like, a Deadpool-esque character, and so them making Harley, like, whenever they try to make Harley into a Deadpool-esque character, it always just, like, ends up being something I don't really like. But overall, I would say Harley. Harley's one of my favorite DC characters as a whole.
When you get a chance, drop by. New stuff just in.
I think DC likes to overuse Harley. I mean, yeah, she's one of their most popular characters, so...
Oh, I see the vision here. Good choice.
Is this finally out? I think that's finally out.
That's Batman approved.
Okay, let's just... I'll just start grabbing everything I can in here. This is 100,000? You got me fucked up. Slightly off topic, but do you have any predictions for future DLC for Lego Batman, like the Joker one this year? I would hope that they do, I would hope that they do some skin DLC, like suit DLC. I think that the current suit selection's a little lacking, for, like, the true legacy of the Dark Knight. Like, yes, we have some, like, deep pulls. Like, we have comic pulls like Absolute Batman and All In Batman. You know, we have Arkham Asylum, Arkham Knight. You have Batman v Superman. You have the Bat Fam cartoon. You have Batman and Robin, Batman 66, Batman 89. Batman Beyond, and, you know, animated series. Like, you have a lot of, like, the, like, TV show and movie Batmans, but there's not a lot of, like, comic suits. Like, you have the Bronze Age Batman, you have Bronze Age Batman, you have All In, you have Absolute, you have Golden Age Batman, you have Gotham by Gaslight, Night Fight, which is kind of just an armored version of All In. You have, like, the Mask of Tengu, which doesn't really count in my head, because it's not really a bat suit. And yeah, Zurin R, I guess, as well, and Zurin R, Zero Year, and Vampire Batman. But I personally think that there's other Batman suit choices you could add than just, like, a ton of, like, I don't know, I feel like you could add more movie suit, or, like, animated, like, comic suits, like, Thomas Wayne Batman. I think you could add, Flashpoint Batman, and, like, I think you could add, like, Flashpoint Batman, like, there's just, like, there's just a ton of suits. Dark Knight Rises. Not Dark Knight Rises, Dark Knight Returns.
Calling all units. Assistance required in Newtown. Looks like a robbery.
You could add like the Dark Knight
Proceed with
Returns.
caution.
That's what I would really like to see for like DLC for this. That's what I would really like to see for DLC for this. Like personally, but
And taking a look at how it's influenced the
Nice. It stopped raining.
like if you look at like Batman Arkham Knight, like you have comic suits like the new 52 Batman, Flashpoint Batman. What were some of the others? Like they also had Zero-Nar and like the 70s Batman like this one. What are some of the others? Like I'm pretty sure there was a Dark Knight Returns Batman. I think they did a Justice League 3000 skin. I think that like there was an E3 Batman Earth 2 skin. As well. Like you could do like a bunch of different comic suits. I think this game's a little lacking in some of the comic bat suits, but that's what I would do for DLC is do some suits. What is this? It's one of these. Nice. But yeah, chat, that is Pride in DC Comics. That is Pride in DC Comics. I didn't really have a plan, chat. I wanted to try and keep this to 2 hours. I really did want to try to keep this to 2 hours because I don't think people are here for like a 4-hour yap session. It would also require me to start going through like deep dives of a character's history. But it was, I don't know, it was fun. It's a little more off the cuff than like our other it's a little more off the cuff than our other like DC videos we do, like the suit lore. I try to I write those out. Like I write those out and I try to make sure that like I'm getting all my points across concisely and within 20 minutes. This is much more of an off the cuff, like the thoughts are running wild. Like just running like doing their own little thing. Like I'm just a little guy, essentially, you know? Chat, let's figure out what we want to do for a couple hours. Shall we? Shall we figure out what we're going to do for a couple hours, chat? Because I don't really want to end after 2 hours. Let's see. I could pull up. Let's change categories really fast. Let's change categories really fast because we're not in Lego Batman anymore. Because we're not in Lego Batman anymore. Also, chat, if you guys don't know, by the way, if you guys don't know, part of the reason why we're yapping about DC Comics and like Pride in DC Comics is because we're streaming for the Rainbow Rap Parade this week. The Rainbow Rap Parade is a little group, an event, raising money for Trans Lifeline. We're trying to raise money for Trans Lifeline. As you guys can see in the upper left, we've raised over $2,600. And it's been going really well. If you guys can donate, I definitely recommend you do. It is a great charity, very helpful charity. But don't donate unless you have to, or not have to, or don't donate unless you can. Okay, like, don't donate unless you can. All right, like, if you are not financially able to donate, do not feel bad that you can't donate. Okay, but if you can, please, 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 you can use !charity in the chat to, you can use !charity in the chat to go to to get a link to the Tiltify page, or you can use your phone and right there, that QR code right there, you can go to that QR code right there. You can scan that QR code. But support the Rainbow Rap Parade, chat. It's been a very, very fun yap. Great way to spend a Monday afternoon. Thank you. I've been enjoying yapping about comics. It's been nice getting back into reading comics. Chat, this week we do have some plans that I think will be fun. Tabletop RPG Day on Thursday, by the way. I think is going to be a lot of fun for this event. We're doing a tabletop RPG on Thursday, chat, where you guys will be able to donate to the charity and, like, affect the tabletop RPG. And then on Saturday, chat, we're doing Pride Karaoke, where you guys will be able to donate to the charity and then, like, choose a song that, like, I'll sing during karaoke. I know there's a Forza collab later that everybody's, like, doing, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to play Forza right now. Chat. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the plan is here. I do not know what the plan is here, chat. I'm just a little guy. I'm just a little guy. Suicide for year 0, so I'm happy to support any suicide prevention. Yeah, it is. Keep checking on your friends, guys. And also, if you're struggling, please reach out to people. Please reach out to people. You know what, chat? I think I got an idea for a game. I'll set up a YouTube stream really fast. YouTube side, I'm gonna set up another stream really quickly. This is the end of our DC Comics Pride talk. Well, we can also still talk DC Comics Pride, but it's the end of the stream dedicated